What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring all of us to look better, love better, mostly feel better every damn day of our lives. And our Wednesday night show, brought to you by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar, where I go at least once a week with either my co-ed soccer team or softball team. Great place to hang out, outstanding menu, love their burgers, love their pad thai, great modern Asian American menu, great drink selection. Go to caskandcompany.com to check it out for yourself, or just swing on by just north of Frandor near the East Lansing border. Jason, how you doing, brother?
And we said, would somebody please guard somebody?
Is Izzo going to be at Moneyball to yell that at some of the guys out there?
He's
now that
not,
Moneyball's coming up?
Yeah, it's not a thing coaches are supposed to be at. So the Moneyball Pro-Am starts Thursday night at Holt High School, 6 o'clock, with the first game, 6, 7, 8. Last year, Doug Wojcik was there, one of the assistants, because his sons were both playing in it. So I think that was the workaround.
So if you have a kid playing, you can get
Steve.
So have Steven Izzo play.
Yeah, you think he's on the team. I don't think they want that for Steven. I don't.
Why not?
Well, because, there's still I don't.
Dude, he can fill it up at Moneyball, right?
I don't know.
What's the over-under on Steven Izzo points?
I like Steven a lot, personally.
Yeah.
I've had some great conversations with him. I don't know that he would stand out at Moneyball positively on the basketball court.
I think he knows that.
Yes, that's why he's not there. He has Steven Izzo has unbelievable self-awareness about himself as a basketball player. And
but don't you have to, though?
Oh, sure.
I mean, you're a walk-on. You're 5'6" or whatever he is. I mean, it's okay. People just want him to score at one point before he calls it quits. Just one bucket, Steven. Let's go.
Yeah, they want it badly this coming year. We'll see.
Yeah, they do. Izzo doesn't.
Izzo wouldn't mind. But Izzo does not want him to go out of his way to get it. And he has said to me he won't embarrass an opponent to do it because he knows there could be repercussions. Like, you don't want to embarrass Purdue the first time you play them at home with a Steven Izzo three-pointer.
Just trying to get him a bucket.
And
Calm
then
down, Painter.
Go back down to Mackey. Yeah, no, you don't want that.
Wouldn't that be? That's kind of a gut check too, though, knowing that it's that would be way over the line if they put you in just to score. That's offensive to another team.
At one point, and I know Rico wanted this, and some other people wanted this for me to play in Moneyball.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried I have not got myself in the proper shape to even approach Desmond about it. If I thought I could.
Dude, you had a full year.
I had a win. Oh, yeah. No, don't need to tell me.
This didn't just jump up and bite you in the ass.
Yeah, I didn't put the donut down until last week, though. But there's no question. It's my fault. I'm not
How
taking
in shape
the blame.
do you have to be? Just come down, shoot a couple jumpers, play no defense?
There's a level I was playing at. Well, first of all, at 33, that would have been great. But even at 39 pre-pandemic, when I was playing with Desmond and some of those guys in pickup games, where I thought I could not embarrass myself for a few minutes on the court, as long as nobody was trying to really prove a point by taking it at me. But the only way I would do it is if I did what Rico does now. Rico has a team. I don't know what he's paying Desmond, but we could do a Couch in the Rube team, and then I could sub myself in for a few minutes at some point.
How much does that cost?
I don't know. We should
find
out.
Look into that. Yeah,
we should have a Couch in the Rube.
Cohen Carr could be our captain. We could get Jackson Kohler, your boy.
I think we would. Yeah, we would require to have Cohen Carr and Jackson Kohler on the team. We
would have to wear track suits or something cool for our coach wear, right?
Oh, for sure, for sure. We would.
Wait,
or 1980s tight, those huggers that gym teachers and coaches used to wear. And,
I could try that. I think I'm wearing them right now, to be honest with you. But so anyone could buy a team if you.
Absolutely.
No shit. All right.
I mean, I don't know if you take the Saudi money like the PGA, but actually, yeah. Well, don't I need to bring Desmond into that? Sorry, Desmond. Yeah. So we got what I think is going to be a fun show tonight. we're going to do some things here. Leading off, I want to get into my minutes predictions for Michigan State basketball this year pre-Moneyball. Because we all know how I get caught up in the Moneyball stuff. How, like, all of a sudden Jackson Kohler last year was like, Wilt Chamberlain to me.
But how do you fall for that? You know going into it. You know they don't play any D and guys score 80 points. So.
I don't actually fall for it that much. But there are little things that will change your mind when you see somebody competing up close several nights in a row for the first time. Like, when you're talking about, because all these are guesses anyway. So I'm interested to see how this changes from what I think now, what I'm guessing now, to what I think at the end of Moneyball. So we'll do this at the end of Moneyball as well. We'll reapproach it.
How long is Moneyball again?
It runs basically through the first week of August.
First week of, wow.
Yeah, it's more than a month. Every Tuesday and Thursday except for July 4th.
And they can't find a couple minutes for you to get in there, or you just don't want to do
I don't want to embarrass myself, which I would right now. I might hit a couple shots and be okay.
That's the funny part, though.
I don't want to make a mockery of his league. Like, this is a true pro-am. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to. That's not cool. I don't.
The lack of defense. Come on.
Yeah, but
pro-am makes a mockery if you go in there. You play basketball. You consider yourself a baller. You should be able to go up and down the court. You're not going to get like heavy minutes or anything, right?
Out of respect for the league, if I were to do it at 43 years old, I ought to be in shape. Before I would even dream of approaching Desmond for that. Well, okay.
That's over. That dream's over then.
The other thing I want to do is, we've talked a lot about Michigan. We do Twitter questions and hot takes about Michigan State's football season and their record and their schedule. And we talked about that the other night with expectations. We're actually going to go through the season, game by game, who they play.
Quarter by quarter,
no. But who they play, what those teams look like, and the percentage chance, and we'll try to agree on it, that Michigan State will win each game. And then we'll look at it at the end, whether expectations are right, whether it makes sense to take the over-under, and all that stuff. I'm looking forward to doing that. We're going to give some of our early football bets that we kind of like, things that might be smart to jump on the value now. You can jump on the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app and do that anytime. And some of these lines are ones you may want to shop around. And then I also want to do sort of a column series that I'm going to do later in July, and I want to do some crowdsourcing for it and talk to you about some of the great what-ifs in Michigan State history, and then we're going to do some what-ifs in Detroit history as well, what-ifs Detroit sport history, and just talk about some of those. And then if you have ideas, I'd love to hear from you. Just DM us, DM me, get a hold of me. And
the what ifs sometimes really hurt, though.
They can,
especially with the Tigers. I was looking back at that stuff, the 2013, and even guys like Doug Fister was a good pitcher, and he was like our sixth guy in the rotation.
There was a couple pitching rotations for the Tigers.
God,
you're like, why not? Why do we let this go? What are you doing? That's it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense. All right, so let's dig into these. Let's start with the minutes as I see them being broken up this year for MSU football. This is going to be me coaching Izzo's team, so to speak.
Don't coach my team.
Boy, we really have that down. I say it comes out anyway.
Peacock.
All right, here's what I have for 200 minutes. And keep in mind, I think there will be some guys, like I think Jackson Kohler may play some minutes at the 4. Malik Hall will play the 4 and the 3. I've got Jackson Kohler at 15 minutes. Carson Cooper, 15 minutes. Madi Sissoko at 11. And that's what I think it'll average out till the end of the year. That's just my guess. Do I think Sissoko will play more than that at the beginning? Yeah, but I think that's where it winds up. Xavier Booker at 17. And so obviously when you do minutes, you have 40 total minutes at center. And just with Kohler, Cooper, and Sissoko, I'm at 41. I think Kohler will play a few minutes a game at the 4. I think they'll try that throughout time. I think there will be moments of small ball where you may see Booker at the 5. There will be a couple things like that. But that's how I roughly see it going this year. So Kohler 15, Carson Cooper 15, Sissoko 11, Booker 17, Malik Hall 25, playing the 4 and the 3, primarily the 4. Garrick Norman, one of the probably odd men out this year, 3 minutes a game, probably in that role that you've seen for Guys like Pierre Brooks when they were really young, where they put them in for a 3-minute stint in the first half, often don't play in the second half, but they're sort of part of the rotation to keep them a part of things. Cohen Carr, 13 minutes a game.
Too low.
I figured.
Yep.
13 minutes a game is a pretty standard amount you see for one of the freshmen in the rotation. It doesn't seem like much, but 13 minutes a game is usually like 2 stints in the first half and 2 in the second. Like, you're playing a lot. You're checking in a lot. 13 is not that little, as little as you think. Jaden Akins, 27 minutes. Tyson Walker, 27 minutes. A.J. Hogard, 25. There'll be some foul trouble. There'll be some A.J. days where Izzo's just pissed at him. Jeremy Fears, 17 minutes. Trey Holloman, 5. That adds up to 200. So that's.
And we said, would somebody please guard somebody?
What do you think?
The 3 bigs, though, Cooper, Kohler, and Sissoko. Now you have Sissoko getting 11 minutes. I mean, obviously, that's going to flip-flop with the way the guys are playing, right?
Sure. It'll matchup-wise.
If Sissoko looks like he's going to start the season, he's going to start the game, and you think Kohler and Cooper are going to relieve him, or is it possible Sissoko comes off the bench?
I think Sissoko is more than likely than not the starting center on opening night. I don't think he is the starting center by Big Ten play. And I think Cooper is sort of my horse in the race that I'm picking to be the guy who really develops and takes another step. Kohler, I think, offensively, if he ever gets to the point, like we saw glimpses of him offensively, he had a couple games where he really impacted people last year. If he ever gets to the point where offensively he's just really comfortable and really like he's somebody you can play offense even through a little bit. If that becomes something they get comfortable doing ever, then his value goes up. So what is he defensively? I don't know. I think it'll still be matchup dependent. I think there will still be matchups where he's not great defensively at the 5 and doesn't play as much. Booker, a slender guy, skilled guy. I think they'd play more at the 4, but he's a shot blocker, and there will be matchups where he can hold up. And so you might see him at the 5 here and there. It'll be interesting to watch. Malik Hall, I see starting at the 4, 25 minutes a game. But you see there's more minutes for, and I can see him playing some at the 3 too. It'll be interesting to see what their finishing lineup is. That's what I'm not willing to sort of predict yet. Who are the 5 that are most often on the floor at the very end of the game? And, I mean, obviously I think it'll be Akins, Walker, probably Hall. But, like, does Fears become a guy do they go real small sometimes? And does he become that sort of player? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of him.
Well, that's the thing. It's really early to kind of decide some of those things. But it'll be interesting. You did the minutes in the month of June, and when it gets closer to the season, because obviously you're going to see practices. Izzo's going to tell you certain things, right, to maybe change your mind on some of those minute things. But
yeah, you'll get a feel for it,
yeah.
and you'll like Trey Holloman, 5 minutes. He may be a guy who takes a big step. Like, is he really going to be a guy who was capable of playing double-digit minutes last year often? Is that a guy who really is a sophomore, is put down to 5? Like, I don't know. Like, that's a.
And we talked about what-if things, but Sissoko last season, he looked great in a couple of those early games where you're like, I was like, man, he's playing like prime Shaq. It was unbelievable. So, and we talked about it last season of Sissoko, he's shown that he has it in him. So why can't he do it throughout a whole season, not just at the beginning? What kind of mentally happens there? And maybe he worked on that in the offseason, and he comes back and he can kind of propel himself to do it more and more throughout the season. So I'm rooting for him. I don't like rooting against Sissoko, but sometimes he's just really frustrating.
Yeah, and maybe he'll take a step as a guy who has a better feel for the game is because, again, he hasn't played as much as any of the other centers. And so maybe that all of a sudden happens, and because what Sissoko has to be to, I think, keep pace with the development of the other guys is what we saw late last year at times where all of a sudden he just was like, fuck it. I am going balls to the wall here. I'm diving on the floor because he's a guy who's got the sharp elbows nobody wants to deal with. He's a guy who's bouncy. He can be physical. Like, if he is just all over the place, relentless, going after every ball, he could become a guy who's like, wow, that guy really needs to be out there. Look at the difference he makes. Like, that's got to be him. And then he's going to have to, like I used to watch it with him and Jaden Akins last year, where you could just see the frustration on Aiken's face sometimes. And he was trying to, because he likes Sissoko. He's trying to be like, where when Sissoko was on the floor, it was like when Tum Tum was on the floor. They didn't know if he saw what they saw. And so the whole thing was like not playing 4-on-5 offensively, because they would involve him in certain things, but it was never instinctual. It was always, we're running this, we'll see if this is there for him. He's not going to make an adjustment on the fly like you would see with Cole or even with Cooper. He doesn't, and there are certain things he's not going to catch. So the question is, can he take a step there? But then also, when he's in the game, he's just got to be this guy who's just bouncy and elbowy and aggressive. And if he's that, he's got a chance. And then, Cohen Carr, 13 minutes. Could he play more? Sure. If he's a guy who is a ferocious defender and rebounder, he could be a guy who's hard to keep off the floor. I just don't know that. I think 13 minutes is not an insult for a freshman.
No.
It's just not.
But we talk about the leap, and I don't know if we should blame Xavier Tillman for, when he did the leap. I mean, everybody kind of expects other players to do that, and we don't sometimes realize that's really hard to do, right? What Tillman did, that next super level that he made after his freshman season.
Yeah. No, but he had an IQ for the game. He didn't have natural hands necessarily, but he had but
he worked on it.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He was,
But that's what people are thinking about with Sissoko is like, can he? The next time we see Maddie, will he be another kind of player? So, but I think like we do look at the Tillman situation and go, oh, more guys should be doing that, right? It's easier said than done.
And one of the things that's important to keep in mind is on really good teams, great players as freshmen often don't have huge years. I just did a piece the other day as part of a ranking series I'm doing where I ranked the best freshmen at Michigan State all time. You know who wasn't on that list and probably should have been honorable mention because he did play an important role and average 5 points and 4 rebounds on the championship team, was Jason Richardson. Next year he's an All-American. But he's on a loaded team that wins a national title, and he's a 5 points and 4 rebounds a game guy who played his role really, really well. And if the team is loaded and there's no insult and no issue with developing like that, you'd rather be that than be Steve Smith in 87, where you're on a horrible team and you're trying to keep your head above water and you're playing a ton.
But why not though? Why can't freshmen come in? I mean, I know the Richardson thing was like 20-some years ago. Why can't guys come in and contribute and be just ball
they can.
out as
They
a
can.
freshman?
Look at Jaren Jackson Jr. He played, about 23 minutes a game, I want to say.
But he's a lot. He was a guaranteed lottery pick,
right? And he, averaged 3.0 blocks a game. That was still the Michigan State record. I mean, he was phenomenal. He was like the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, even as he was developing in certain ways offensively. He shot like 40% from three though that year. I mean. He was like, I'll be very curious to watch Xavier Booker because he's not Jaren Jackson. Like Jaren Jackson he had tree trunks for thighs. And I don't want to talk about staring at his thighs all the time, but I used to because they were just different than a lot of slender guys. Like it's the first thing I noticed when Marcus Bingham showed up on campus right after that was like, those are twigs. Like there's a strength. There's an issue.
You had to see him in person to realize that?
Well, it's the legs. It's the upper legs. It makes you slow. I've had friends like this who are like, they look slender. They look like they'd be athletic. But if you have the thigh that's the same basic width and circumference as the calf, you're fucked. Like there's just no way around it. And so that was kind of Bingham's problem.
Nice thighs. You could work on your calves though.
So anyway,
weirdo.
Yeah, you can imagine just me in the Michigan State locker room after games. Like
Jaren Jackson's like, why is this dude staring at me? What's going on here? Where's he looking?
So anyway, yeah, in a guy like Xavier Booker doesn't necessarily have, like I've watched him play in person, doesn't have the Marcus Bingham problem, but he's also not built like Jaren Jackson Jr. yet. He's more slender. I'll be very curious to see, but he's skilled. He's a bit more of a project. I'll be curious to see how they use him, what his first year is like, and I think he's got tremendous upside.
I'm trying to remember. Did you say that Xavier Booker would possibly start during the season? Did we talk about that? Or start over Mady Sissoko?
No, because I am at the 4 mostly.
Okay.
Playing behind Malik Hall. And I think that's a great spot for him to learn.
Sure.
Does he have more upside in his career than Malik Hall? Yes. But is Hall somebody who's going to be a motivated senior, who's a good leader to live? It's a great position for Xavier Booker. Because ultimately, the other thing about Hall, and he's shown this throughout his career, and he's not coming back to sit, by the way. I mean, he wants to have a better senior year than last. But he has shown himself to be pretty selfless at times throughout his career. He has taken bad news, and he's taken competition that's meant he's got to divvy up his minutes and things like that pretty well. I still think he'll play 25 a game. I think, he's better off at the 4 as a trailing 4 than he is as a 3. Because,
but he's definitely one of the guys I want to see from this year, because last year he showed, again, glimpses of what kind of player he could be, and they're going to need him, obviously, if there's Final Four aspirations, right? I'm really intrigued by Malik Hall more than a lot of other guys on the team of how they're going to step up into this season.
And he won't be playing at Moneyball, nor do you need to see Malik Hall at Moneyball. He's coming off the foot surgery, so he will not be at Moneyball.
No Liz Frank.
Yeah. If you're Malik Hall, you
duck Liz Frank this summer.
Yeah. You don't need any of that stuff. All right, so we'll come back to that after Moneyball, and I'll redo the 200, and we'll see how comparable it is to that.
So Cohen Carr, 13 minutes right now, pre-Moneyball.
Yes. Leading the top 2 guys would be Akins and Walker at 27, but I have Akins at 27, Walker at 27, Hogard and Hall at 25. Those 4 guys, I mean, the obvious guys playing mid to upper 20s minutes.
I think I need to go to Moneyball. I have to see Cohen Carr in person, right? I mean,
I think so.
Rico has his own team.
It'd be funny if Rico was out. It'd be funny if Rico was coaching. He'd be like Tupac in what's that movie? He got game. No, it's
Above the Rim.
Above the Rim. Yeah, when he's in the corner. Yeah, that's why I picture Rico.
Rico's lost some LBs apparently.
Has he?
Yeah.
Well, then
won't recognize him.
All sorts of reasons to go to Moneyball.
Yeah.
Plus, I'll be there. I hope you're there on Thursday night. We'll hang. It'll be a good time. I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty sizable crowd this Thursday. Headed down for the holidays. Big crowd.
I'm sure Desmond would be like, "Hey guys, help me out here."
Yeah, the week that's always tough, and I'll give people just, you're getting out there once. The July 4th week, that Thursday, they're not going to play on Tuesday because it's actually July 4th. Sometimes those guys who are up, like working out in East Lansing, that's the week they go home. And some years he's had like Denzel Valentine or Bryn Forbes or Jabari Parker, somebody else would show up, Draymond Green back in the day. And he'll try to get somebody else who people want to see. But there's a chance the guys from Michigan State, or not all of them, will be there that week. So if you're going to go see it once, I would just say the 6th of July is probably not the one day.
And do you have to pay for admission?
It's
or
free. It's free. Donations are welcome, but it's absolutely free. It's part of the deal. You can't charge for pro-ams with Division I athletes. So they also can't live stream it, so you got to be there to see it. It'll be fun. I'll have a column right after it tomorrow night. Missing LSJ softball for it. That's how important this is. Big stuff. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to dig into the Michigan State football schedule bit by bit and figure this all out. Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Front 43 and Cask & Company.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen, Bar, or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. If you're looking forward to cool summer nights at the lake or backyard gatherings, make Muskox's spring and summer flannel collection part of your summer experience. Muskox's lighter weight 3 Seasons flannel is perfect for warmer weather without sacrificing Muskox's noted softness or high quality. Plus, Muskox donates 10% of every $100 purchased to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. Visit GoMuskox.com to find the absolute best flannel for you and use our promo code CAW15 for $15 off your flannel order. Trust us, you've never felt more comfortable than you will in a Muskox flannel. Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Wherever you are on your cannabis journey, let Sky Mint Premium Cannabis be your guide, your friend, and your place. Whether you're curious about cannabis or a seasoned connoisseur, Sky Mint's knowledgeable staff will help you with a vast selection of products to choose from to fit your needs. Sky Mint believes access to the best cannabis helps people do good and feel good, so they grow it right here in Michigan, giving you high-quality, locally grown cannabis at highly accessible prices. Visit skymint.com for special offers and location information throughout Michigan, and use the promo code CouchAndRube20 for 20% off your first visit. Sky Mint Cannabis. You'll love this place. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Sky Mint Premium Cannabis. Introducing some terrific bundles right now on North Edibles, 3 for $20, 10 for $60. North Vapes, 8 for $99. Lots of great deals. 3 for $21 on pre-rolls, 10 for $60. Just go to skymint.com for location information and specials. You can also sign up for their point program. They will treat you well and help you along on your cannabis journey. Also, our Wednesday night show brought to you by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar, just north of Frandor on East Saginaw and Lansing. All right, Jason, let's we've talked a lot about MSU football and over-under wins and expectations and all this shit, but we don't really get into the minutia, the details, the stuff, and go through it and really see what's realistic and what's not. And again, we haven't seen this Michigan State team, so we have only so much of an idea of what they might be, and we have only so much of an idea what the opponents can be. But I think we can project it better than we have been. And so I kind of want to go through it with you and do it based on percentage, game by game, chances they're going to win, and then sort of look at it and reevaluate the season.
Awesome. I can't wait to people can go back to this show and be like, remember when you guys said they were going to win 9 games?
All right, well, let's start
with
fun. September 1st, Friday night, Central Michigan. CMU is not a great offense. Lost their star running back to the NFL. Decent defense. Not the formula for an upset. Like, the teams that are dangerous in the Mid-American Conference are teams with, like, really potent offenses. That's the team that can score with a Big Ten team. Those are the teams that are dangerous. This is not the formula for an upset. In fact, and we'll get into it a little more when we talk about bets we like, but I think there's some great teaser opportunities. The line is like 14.5, 15. Check it out on the Firekeepers iCasino Sportsbook app. You see what I think there's opportunities at like an 8-point, 7-point teaser, things like that, to bring that down and make that.
But would you really trust a Michigan State team that early to give that many points?
Yes. If you can get it down to like 7, I would. I absolutely would against Central Michigan. I think they'll beat this team. If they don't, it's a real problem because we've seen them lose to CMU when CMU was like in their heyday. I don't think this is that CMU team. So I think winning percentage, 90% chance they win this game? Something like that. Yeah. Seems right. September 9th, Richmond. Couple good skill players. From everything I read, projected top 20-ish FCS team, which often translates to like a mid-tier MAC team. Like they're not a bad 1AA team. There are those teams out there, but this team would do fine in the MAC. But again, I shouldn't be the level to give them a problem. Probably 90-10 90-10 again, I think is safe. So that's 2-0 before the season really starts. Keep in mind the over-under win total is 5.5. So the season really starts in a lot of ways. I mean, we'll have an idea about some things, but it starts in a lot of ways September 16th against Washington. And we all remember this game last year. It was the game where I was wearing the Washington sweatshirt in the open-air press box because I didn't realize it was an open-air press box. And it was cold as hell. And other than that, it was a beautiful stadium. But Washington, I've heard projections where some people think this is the playoff team to come out of the Pac-12. Like, there are some things about Washington that aren't necessarily great. Like, it looks like there's, might have some weakness in their secondary and things like that. But they've got Michael Penix, 2,000-yard returning receivers. Jeremy Bernard, the Michigan State transfer, 4-star kid, is likely like the third receiver. The offense is supposed to be prolific. Only 2 starters returning on the offensive line. But this is a real test. And I think, like, pound for pound, as objectively as you can be, even at home, this is what you say, 60% loss, 60-40?
60% loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good number right around there, yeah.
Okay, so let's go 60-40.
But it is at home, so I don't know.
If it was on the road, yeah. I mean, Washington, but we're talking about a team that some people think will win the Pac-12, that has an offense that'll be interesting to see if Michigan State can keep up. Not saying they can't do it. I'm putting it at 60-40. It's not impossible. The next week, September 23rd, Maryland at Spartan Stadium. Maryland was 8-5 last year. People sort of forget that. They did beat MSU in College Park. Tulia Tagovailoa is back, the quarterback. Couple transfers at receivers. Looks like a good group there. Offensive line, though, 4 new starters. Couple guys, transfers reportedly good, but every transfer is good this time of year, so who the hell knows? Good sophomore running back in Roman Hemby. So-so defense with at least as many questions as MSU's defense. And so this is in Spartan Stadium. It's early in the year. Maryland will still feel good about itself. Are we talking 50-50 win, 60-40 win? What do you think?
Well, Loxley, he does start off hot. It is week 4 of the season, so Maryland might come in on a little bit of a roll. So I could see 50-50 on that game.
All right, let's say 50-50. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a 50-50 game.
Yep.
All right, so September 30th then, at Iowa. And this is an Iowa team that's got a mandate to improve the offense. Cade McNamara at quarterback. 5 starters back on an offensive line that wasn't very good last year, but that's still a lot of seasoned experience. Good tight ends, including Michigan transfer Eric All. Some big-time transfers at receiver. I think they could be pretty good there. Defense lost a lot of good pieces, but this is a really good defensive program. And they got 3 starters back, the front 7. It's considered a top 30 team. You're on the road at Kinnick Stadium. I'm not saying it can't happen because we've seen it happen there. But I've got to say it's like 70-30 loss, right? On the road, Kinnick Stadium, and top 30 team.
We don't know if it's going to be a night game or not, right? I think that would go up a little higher if we knew it was
a night game.
A night game, yeah. So I still think that's accurate.
Okay. October 14th, you get a bye week going into the Rutgers game. Always important to have the bye week going into the Rutgers game. Rutgers was awful offensively last year, like 13 points a game. They lose 3 of their top receivers, which might be okay. Those guys, the offense sucked. The defense looks like it's actually pretty solid, but this should be a winnable game in a non-threatening atmosphere that I think will be by mid-October. Maybe half Michigan State fans coming in from, East Coast people or in the New York area have seen that game play out there. It would be a real disappointment if Michigan State doesn't win based on what Rutgers looks like they'll be this year, regardless of what MSU is. So let's say 70-30 win, even at Rutgers. Is that too much?
That's way too high for me. I mean, I think Schiano's got some good stuff rolling at Rutgers, right? I like the bye week in between these 2 games and right before the Michigan game. But I don't know, Graham. I would go maybe 60-40? 60-40, maybe even lower because
all right, let's settle.
I like Schiano.
I know. I just don't think his roster is all that good this year. I think his offense is shit. But you're right. It's a road game.
But he's one of those coaches that, like Belichick, that can get the most out of his guys. So you just never know. And it's on the road after you play Iowa. That could possibly be a night game. But you have a week off in between.
October 21st, Michigan at Spartan Stadium. You've got J.J. McCarthy back, obviously Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards at running back. Offensive line has a couple starters back, few transfers to the mix. Receivers aren't overwhelming. This is like a top 6 defense last year. I think the defense can be really good. Maybe not as scary on the edge. Really good secondary. Fan base in a program that's expecting to compete for another playoff berth, expecting 10 wins. It's a home game. We've seen Michigan State win this game. But based on what Michigan's program is seasoned as it looked right now, what do you say, 70-30 loss even at home?
I think you have to go 50-50 with these games.
50-50?
Yeah.
For Michigan
State, the Michigan State, Michigan games are always, you just never know what could happen in those games.
I know that.
No matter what Michigan's coming off of,
Okay.
just like the slate seems clean for those kind of things, I just would go 50-50. Not to be Graham Stout, but.
Yeah. Well, should we split the middle and say 60-40?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
What is this, Pawn Stars? Listen, it's going to hang up on the wall. You're going to have to meet you at the middle.
October 28th at Minnesota. Here's the thing, though. A lot of changes offensively from Minnesota. They got a quarterback they're hoping they're good, is good. Good tight ends. Decent pass catchers. A couple promising transfer receivers, including the Western Michigan kid, Corey Crooms. Some changes on defense. I don't top 40 team it's projected to be, but I'm not sure about this team. We saw the difference last year between MSU and Minnesota, but that was the worst moment for Michigan State, and I also think it was a better Minnesota team than they'll have this year. And I think Michigan State will remember that game. And I know it's the week after Michigan, and so depending on what happens there, that can mess with your psyche. But, this is a game that will, I think, to some degree be circled on their calendar and in their heads. That was an embarrassment a year ago. And I think they'll be motivated and dialed in for this game. I don't think Minnesota's as good. To me, I think this is 50-50 even on the road. What do you think?
Yeah, so it's going to be somewhere around that just because there's a lot of unknowns, obviously, with Minnesota as well, but it's going to be, like you mentioned, on the road after the Michigan game. So 50-50 for me, that makes sense to me right there as of right now.
November 4th, Nebraska, Spartan Stadium, beginning of the Matt Rule era. Georgia Tech transfer probably at quarterback. Good running backs.
So he runs the option?
Good tight end. Not much proven electricity at receiver. Some questions on the offensive line. Good linebackers and secondary. Young up front defensively. The thing that, you talk about Schiano, Rule is a guy I have a lot of respect for and getting the most out of a team, and you get that new coach bump. I don't know if you're still getting it by November, but, you're betting a little bit on Matt Rule. It's hard to know by November. But I'm going to give at home in June, projecting November, I'm going to give MSU 60-40 of winning because I don't think this Nebraska team is great. Now, we've seen physically Michigan State have trouble with Nebraska even when they were good. You think back to that game that they got really saved by Jaden Reed in 2021 where it looked like they were going to lose, and Nebraska was just better than them at the line of scrimmage. I don't know that that'll be the case, but at home, what is 60-40 Michigan State sound good?
It does, but Matt Rule, he's got that Hondo Carpenter vibe where you could see him pulling something off. And, by the way, if they lose at Minnesota, who knows if it's a tailspin, who knows. But, yeah, 60-40 works.
So, wait a sec. He has the Hondo Carpenter vibe. You can feel it.
Yeah. Hondo, it's the car salesman guy, to get some transfers over there.
And make it work. I got you. Matt Rule, the Hondo Carpenter, and then spinning it into a good thing. I respect it. The following week, November 11th, at Ohio State. What?
99-1.
Yeah, in terms of wins, what are we doing here? But Kyle McCord, I think, is the likely quarterback.
Cockburn.
Supposed to be reloaded, outstanding receiving corps, loaded again at running back. Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams. That's just brutal. Offensive line, though, a bit fluid there. I think they lost some key guys, but it's still they're recruiting at a different level. Defensively, not sure they'll be as dominant, but again, they're recruiting at a level above MSU's talent. MSU needs this game to feel and look competitive. That would be a big step for the program at some point. But in terms of winning and actually losing in Columbus, what do we say, 90-10 loss at best? But I think MSU will be in a better place than Indiana. I think they'll have a better team. So in Bloomington and late November, give me MSU 70-30 win even on the road. You agree?
It seems a little heavy, but yeah, I agree. Indiana's going to be ass, so that works.
All right, finale, November 24th, the home game they gave away. Penn State at Ford Field. Penn State has like 14, 15 starters back. Quarterback they're excited about, and Drew Aller or whatever his name is. Couple good young running backs. Little improving at wide out. I mean, they look tough on defense though all the way through. Projected top 10 team. I think this has a chance to be a really good team that is just as likely as Ohio State or Michigan to be in the playoff. James Franklin notwithstanding. Ford Field, not the same advantage as Spartan Stadium. Fast track. Team that might be really playing for something. At best, I'm thinking like 65-35% loss here.
Yeah.
Does that feel right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If not more. Like I said, depending on, we've talked about it, depending on Michigan State's season, how many fans would go if they only have like 6 wins at that point? Would people still show up? So,
all right. So if we just go through this, though, and what we've done, we have basically, depending on this is still 6. This is basically 4 very likely wins. When you talk about CMU, Richmond, at Rutgers, depending on to what degree, and at Indiana, and maybe even Nebraska, but 4 very, very likely losses, which I think is the Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. Although we disagree on Michigan, and at Iowa. And then 4 in the margins, and that includes the Washington game at 60-40. We're saying the other way. And, that includes 50-50 at Minnesota. But we still have 6 games we're projecting them to win here, and a 50-50 game at Minnesota. So I kind of like the over 5.5 that I haven't.
and it's plus money in some books too.
Correct.
Plus 130.
Correct. You're going to get plus money on this. You can get it all the way. I would shop around because you may find it as high as plus 150 on Michigan State over 5.5. I wouldn't throw a lot of money on it, but I wouldn't take the under either. Like when you start to look at this, and obviously Michigan State could be worse than we realize. They could have a huge problem at quarterback and we didn't realize it. Or one of these teams could be – lots of things are going to change and happen. But as you're projecting this out, I just think that there isn't – it's not getting to 6 wins. Like I really thought the more I read about Rutgers – like I thought Rutgers and Indiana were tougher situations than they actually might be until I read about them. Nebraska, I really like Michigan State's chances. Minnesota, think that's – the schedule is as tough as it is. It's tough because I think that ceiling of 8, depending on how you feel the Michigan game will go, or you see it 50-50, and I don't. But depending on how you see the Michigan game, the ceiling of 8 is a pretty firm ceiling, perhaps, for this team.
Well, and I say 50-50 just because of the past and when one team has, like Michigan State is not doing as well as Michigan, they still compete in that game somehow.
No doubt.
But by the way, the under 5.5 is minus 150. So that's the under's a heavier favorite than I thought.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch the under here. Whatever. Yeah, actually, the plus money isn't great, right? It's like plus 110, 120, 130. Yeah, 130. Yeah, I mean, there's plus money on it. I don't think that's bad. The thing you've got to think about is you just don't want to be going into the Penn State game at 5 wins, and you don't want to be going into the Ohio State game at 4 wins, because you're going to need two more than, But Indiana, they ought to win. Now, the question with anything here is, like, Indiana on the road, if that's the 6th win, say, could you just wait and bet that game and get a decent juice? You know what I mean? And but again, I think the over is a better play than I thought it was. I think when we look at their schedule, I think it's more manageable certain places than I realized. I think Washington is tough. Iowa is tough. Michigan is tough. Actually, I have 5 games I really think they're likely to lose. More than likely, but I think they could win Washington at home. If you look at the 5 games that I've mentioned that are really brutal, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa, and Washington. The 2 we think they're most likely to probably win are what? Michigan, because of the rivalry and the weird things that happen to being at home, and Washington at home early in the season.
Yeah.
So if they get one, it's possible they get one of those. Anyway, it's an interesting exercise to do, to sort of look through it. I do think Indiana and Rutgers are going to be bad.
It's a June exercise.
It's a great June. It's a great June exercise. Let's parlay this into. See what I did there?
I see that.
Yes. Some early lines that we really like, and of course, what we like and what we're betting is presented by our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Check out their lines. Bet the games we are betting, or just anytime swing by Dacey's Sportsbook down at Firekeepers near Battle Creek. All right, Jason, are there season wins lines or things that you really like this year?
Well,
early?
I was looking at the Detroit Lions over-under, and they have it on CBS Sportsline at 9, but the over is -150. The under is +125. I think that's a lot of juice, but if everybody and their brothers picking the Lions to win the division and to win 10 games, and some, like Louis Riddick, thinks we're going to win the fucking Super Bowl. So, I mean, if that's the case, is that too heavy of juice? If you can get it 8.5, I would love it even more.
Yeah.
But there's that, and also in college, Clem's in the ACC, their over-under is 10. Aren't they kind of like Michigan with their schedule where they have everything is kind of catered to them to where they can get 10 wins easily?
Yeah, I Clemson, I don't.
And that's plus money, by the way.
Is it plus money on 10?
105.
Is it straight 10? Is what you're
Straight
saying?
10, yeah.
So there's some things in college I like. I like Penn State over 9.5. I do like them. I like Iowa over 7.5. I kind of like Northwestern over 3.5.
But you only like the over in the Iowa thing because what's his nuts has to like score points this year or he's fired, right?
I also think they're just. I also just think they're going to get to 8 wins. I look at their schedule and I think they're going to get to 8 wins. I do. I think they're. The other things I really like, and I have some future bets have already played, is to win the Big Ten, Penn State plus 600. Like Michigan and Ohio State are taking all the money right now. I think Penn State's going to be right in that conversation. And I also don't think the West is necessary. I really like Wisconsin. And could be wrong, but I plus 800, I think that's a decent flyer. And Iowa plus 1,200. I think there'll be a chance. I think there'll be a better chance this year, perhaps, to hedge if you need to in that championship game. And I'm not saying throw a ton of money down, but throw $25, have a couple hundred riding on that, a few hundred riding. It's kind of fun. Those are value points for me. I mentioned the MSU CMU Week 1 teaser. In the NFL, Bill Simmons gave out a bet, and the more I read, the more I like it. It was like the Bucks, Rams, and Raiders not to make the playoffs parlayed at almost even money. How bad those teams are, and you can get even better numbers than he was giving out with their connection with FanDuel. If you shop around, look on the Firekeepers app, look at other apps. I do like you get some of the Raiders you can get up to 100 minus 100 points better or whatever it is, minus 550 to minus 450 if you shop around. Rams a little bit better, Bucks a little bit better. I like the Bucks and Rams under 6.5 wins. I like the Seahawks over 8.5 if you can still get it. Patriots over 7.5. There's some things I really like out there that I think will move as we get into August, and so if you like them, jump on them now. Those are
Patriots 7.5. I mean, it's minus 115, but Belichick, I think he can squeeze out 8 wins with anyone, right?
I think he's got a pride bounce back. He got rid of Patricia. He's got a real offensive coach. then keep in mind, too, with all these over-unders, there's 17 games now. So if you're saying the Patriots aren't getting to 8, you're saying they're going to go 7-10 in a division that's wide open. Like, I think the Patriots are, if the Patriots are an 8-9 team, you win that. Like, I think that's beyond feasible. I mean, that's the Seahawks. I know that line is moving around, but if you can get it under 9 for over 8.5, I mean, if you can, that's, I like the Seahawks a ton this year.
Carroll's another guy like Belichick that can squeeze every ounce out of guys, so you never know. I mean, that's you're getting your money in right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we are going to take one more break. When we come back, we're going to dig into some Michigan State and Detroit sports what-ifs. And then, like the last time we felt good about any of our teams, Pistons, Tigers, Red Wings, Lions, chat about that just a little bit. Couch in the Rube, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis and Front 43 in Cask and Company.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. If you're looking forward to cool summer nights at the lake or backyard gatherings, make Muskox's spring and summer flannel collection part of your summer experience. Muskox's lighter weight 3 seasons flannel is perfect for warmer weather without sacrificing Muskox's noted softness or high quality. Plus, Muskox donates 10% of every $100 purchased to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. Visit GoMuskox.com to find the absolute best flannel for you and use our promo code CAWCAW15 for $15 off your flannel order. Trust us, you've never felt more comfortable than you will in a Muskox flannel.
Christmas is around the corner and beautiful jewelry is on her Christmas list. So where will you go to buy that gorgeous diamond ring or that sparkly diamond necklace or that incredible diamond bracelet? Medawar Jewelers' 4 locations by the Lansing Mall by Meridian Mall in Jackson and in Portage have the largest selection and the latest designs of beautiful jewelry that she's been dreaming of. If an engagement ring is on your mind, come into Medawar Jewelers and let our professional staff explain to you all about natural and lab-created diamonds. Our diamonds are set by master jewelers whose passion for their art shows so clearly in each and every piece. So, for that perfect gift that's on her Christmas list, come into Medawar's by the Lansing Mall by Meridian Mall in Jackson and in Portage, and we'll help you find it.
Find our live stream, podcast archives, as well as show, affiliate, and sponsorship information at our website, spotlightmediastudios.com.
Couch in the Roof, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, and our Wednesday night show brought to you by our friends at Front 43 Neighborhood Pub and Cask & Company Kitchen and Bar. 2 adjoining restaurants, 2 different vibes, 1 outstanding menu. Both great places to watch a game. Love Cask & Company as a date night. Love Front 43, sort of sitting at the bar, hanging out with the team after a game. Both bars are fantastic. Both TV setups are awesome. All right, Jason, I want to so there's something floating around Twitter that was, I'll give him, it was Spartan or MSU Humor put a segment put a series of clips of Michigan State defensive backs in the 2013 game against Notre Dame getting pass interference calls against them, and there was a lot of bullshit, and it cost them the game. Wasn't the only reason they lost. It quarterback play wasn't figured out, but they lose that game 17-13. It's their only loss all season, and then this guy Bud Elliott, who's 24/7 Sports CBS sports guy, quite a following, basically responds that it's amazing that Michigan State fans thinks that Sparty would have won a national title in 2013 if not for some pass interference calls against Notre Dame. The thing about this is he's wrong because he doesn't think they could have beat Florida State. And this is what the debate turned into, of course, on Twitter. The answer is yes, they could have beat Florida State. I don't know if they would have, but they were capable of beating anybody. That team, that defense was ferocious. And he just didn't see it enough. It's an ignorant opinion. Whatever. It happens. We all have ignorant opinions. I've had a few of them over the course of time. But the bigger question is, like, does the season unfold the way it did if they had won that game? Right? Does the Iowa game 2 weeks later unfold if they squeak by Notre Dame? Because that was such a line in the sand moment. They had the bye, so maybe, I don't know, but they just sort of seemed to get it together. They went with Connor Cook. It all happened beginning with that game. Does it happen the same way? And it started making me think about the ultimate what-ifs in MSU sports history. And it is a series I plan to do when I get back from vacation in late July, looking at each of these things. Like what, all sorts of fun what-ifs. And as you said, some can be depressing. And part of this is crowdsourcing. So if you have fun what-ifs you often think about, I want to hear from you. I want to hear, just DM me or DM the Couch in the Rube account, or send me an email, whatever it is, and I may include it if I think if it's one. Like, I think about things like, what if Bobby Williams answers the question differently? Have you lost your team? Right? That team wasn't good, but
I think it sped up the process.
Right. But does John L. Smith still become the next coach? With the timing of all of that, how does that play out? What if John L. Smith beats Ohio State and the coaches don't screw it up? Like, he had a team that could play with people for a minute there, and the coaches just kept screwing it up. What if Jaren Jackson comes back for 2019 as he nearly did, or 2018-19? Like, what does that look like? What if Nick Saban decides to stay, or if Izzo is around that night to prevent him from leaving, or if they let him come back when he wanted to, when Saban wanted to? What if Izzo goes to the Atlanta Hawks in 2000?
I think the Saban one is
that's the best.
Number one with Michigan State, that is.
Totally.
Because, people always bring up if they would have just offered him $500,000 more, but I mean, maybe he would have just ended up leaving in 2 seasons anyway, but that's a huge what if.
And I think there's a real chance, like, he had the NFL itch that he was going to scratch at some point. And everybody acts like, the NFL wasn't for him. No, he just couldn't get Drew Brees. He couldn't convince the owner to let them get Drew Brees. If they do that, he might still be in the NFL. But I think they would have gotten the LSU years out of him if they convinced him. I don't think he would have gone to another college. I think they might have won in the next 3-4 years at a level that would have been, maybe the LSU level that got him a national championship. They were really close to Saban. I mean, they went, 10-2 that year, 9-2 before he left. What if Izzo goes to the Atlanta Hawks in 2000, which was, a little bit close to happening, and they get the national championship, but none of the next stuff, anything after that happens? What if they had hired Tom Osborne to replace Saban? What if Kenyon Martin doesn't get hurt for Cincinnati in 2000? What if Trump doesn't run for president and the 2016 MSU football team doesn't fall apart the same way?
Oh, God.
So there are a lot of these. I'm going to get into them in a couple weeks. If you have what ifs, send me an email or send me a DM. And I'd be curious to
and not like, what if Grandma had balls, she'd be Grandpa.
Let's
be serious.
No,
about this,
but little things you've thought of. And it can be a small moment in a game that could have changed everything in the course of history. Those are the fun ones. It doesn't have to be something that everybody's thinking about.
Are they fun, though? I mean, if you win multiple championships, I think you could look back and go, I remember when we got screwed in that situation. What if, So, but when you have it in a while, it's like, oh.
So what were you said there's some good Detroit ones, right? On Detroit sports ones?
Yeah. The Detroit Free Press kind of put this out a couple years ago, and the first one was May 8th, 2014. What if the Lions didn't draft Eric Ebron in round 1? The defense was clicking on all cylinders. If you add Aaron Donald,
could have they
instead
had Donald
of a tight
there?
end? Yeah, Aaron Donald was still available.
Yeah, geez.
And I understand the thinking by Martin Mayhew is they already had Kelvin Johnson. Why not a guy like Eric Ebron, who, after he left the Lions, looked like the tight end they drafted at 10. He just was He would get into it with fans. He didn't really like it in Detroit. So that is the top what if for the Detroit Lions. And, of course, there's the pass interference in the 2015 against the Dallas Cowboys. And
well, so let's get into the last thing I want to do here is the last time we were excited for the Pistons, Tigers, Lions, or Red Wings. Like that. I mean, what's been amazing about this sort of dearth of time, and the pandemic happened over it too, which sort of helped freeze time and all this stuff. But like, it's just been a long time since you felt this great anticipation for any of our teams. And I'm wondering, like, for you, what's the last time that you thought, boy, I can't wait for this Lions season. I can't wait for this Lions game. I can't wait for this Tigers season. I can't wait for any of the Pistons, whatever. Like, what is the last time for you?
I think they're both around that 2013, 2014 area where the Lions, the offense with Stafford was kind of clicking. The defense was one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. And then the Tigers in the 2013, 2014 kind of around that area. That was the last time that I just figured we had this pitching staff that it was going to last forever. That's the stupidity of me, is like, I'm like, oh, yeah, we're just going to have this run. Not, Al Avila comes and takes a shit on your franchise, and you don't see that coming. So I think around then, right, about 10 years ago, I think things were, other than the Pistons. I mean, I'm not a big NHL person, so I don't remember kind of the Red Wings back then. But those two, I thought, man, we're getting close now.
Yeah, there's never been a moment with the Lions. Like in that playoffs, I thought they did get robbed, but there was never a moment where I thought the Lions. It's been a long time.
He was so good, though.
Yeah.
You can overcome a lot of things when you have a defense like that. And they would have added Aaron Donald to that.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, and it's probably been that long since I thought I need to watch this Lions game. It's because there were 8 or so years where I never felt that, between like 2006 and 14, that I never felt like I needed to watch a Lions game.
Well, we would have it on the second TV sometimes when they were at like went 0-16 or something like that. But you always have to just check in to see how bad it's going to be.
For me, right? With the Tigers, like in 2016 when they were dumping guys, like I didn't understand it because it was, I knew some of these guys were aging. Some of these guys were big contracts. They weren't going to be able to do this stuff forever. But like, they actually didn't rebuild their farm system with them. They didn't do anything. Why not keep them and try to build around, get some younger players around the edges? I understand these were big contracts, but it's a non-salary cap sport. And I thought they were still, obviously in hindsight, they would have done that differently because none of the shit worked out. But I think, for the Tigers, for me, it was probably still as late as that year. It was, because every year for a decade, they had a chance, and that was pretty cool. The Pistons, I know very specifically when it was. Obviously the Cade Cunningham winning the draft lottery a couple years ago, that was fun. That was like, okay, this is something. But when KCP dropped, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope dropped like 24 points in a NBA Summer League game, I was sitting with a buddy, and we're like, yep, this is going to be the dude. We got an all-star. This guy's going to be an all-star off guard, and that's that. And he wound up being a good role player. But so that KCP's rookie year, I don't know. Give me some Hoff real fast.
Hoff.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me.
So it wasn't his rookie year because it was going into his second year where he had that summer league. So I think it was the summer of 14. But I think it's a lot with a lot of those teams. It's, about that era with the Lions, about that era with the Tigers, about that era with the Pistons, where you hoped, but you didn't really,
And back to the Tigers, one of the things they mentioned in the free press about the Tigers' what-ifs is March 23rd, 2014. What if the Tigers hadn't gone public with Matt Scherzer's contract rejection? They kind of lowballed him in that, he was coming off a Cy Young season, dominant guy. Look what he did with the Nationals. How do you not? I don't understand why you'd want to own a baseball team if you have guys like that on your team and you don't want to keep those guys around.
What's amazing is, and this happened with guards in the NBA, and it happens with pitchers who are reliable and durable in their 30s. Like don't get rid of a guy before he's done. You don't know how much time he's got left. I remember the Mavericks got rid of Steve Nash, and he had a whole second career with MVPs with the Suns because Mark Cuban, and he's admitted his mistake, thought he was getting old. Like Chauncey Billups, the Pistons got rid of him thinking he was done, and he had some good years left. Like there's just don't get rid of guys too early when you got something going. In all of this and all of the frustration, I think one of the great things that we've had for me and what I cover for fans everywhere, like as shitty as year as Michigan State has had occasionally in basketball or football, where they've been frustrating on the bubble in basketball, in the play-in game, in football, had a couple real down years here and there. Think about how rarely they've been down for long. Think about how good they've had. And, Michigan State and Michigan they've just sort of saved the state athletically for a long time here. It's time for the other sports to do their part. Anyway, we will be back. I think we're going to do a show on Saturday morning. That's the tentative plan right now. A Twitter questions show post Moneyball. And then we're going to be off for a couple weeks, July 4th, and I'm going to be out of the country for a while. We're going to take some vacation. But we got one more show before that. Twitter questions for Saturday morning. We'll put out a tweet, of course. And, so we appreciate Front 43 and Caskin Company. Go to CaskinCompany.com to check out their menu and offerings, or just swing on by just north of Frandor on East Saginaw near the East Lansing border. Thanks to Skymint. Go to Skymint.com to check out their daily deals and their locations. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.